In this PowerPoint, we will be providing an overview of what a registered behavior technician is, as well as the supervision requirements that they have. This covers task list item F1. It should be noted that this training program is based on the RBT task list and is designed to meet the 40-hour training requirement for RBT certification. The program is offered independent of the BACB. First, we will start by discussing what the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, or the BACB, is. The BACB is a corporation that credentials individuals providing behavior analytics services. Their global mission is to protect consumers of behavior analysis services worldwide by systematically establishing, promoting, and disseminating professional standards. The BACB's purpose is to ensure the safety of consumers of ABA services. They do this by requiring individuals who would like to provide behavior analytics services to go through certain trainings, experiences, and tests. Additionally, as we will discuss later, the BACB ensures that individuals who do have credentials continue to receive ongoing education by requiring individuals to attend conferences, workshops, etc. Additionally, they require supervision for individuals who have certain certifications, such as an RBT or BCABA. There are 4 levels of practitioner credentials. The first level is a registered behavior technician, also referred to as an RBT. This is an individual who has received a high school degree at the minimum and has completed all of the required trainings. This PowerPoint presentation will go more in depth about what an RBT is and how to become one later. The second level is a board certified assistant behavior analyst, or a BCABA. This individual must have at least a bachelor's degree and all of their work is overseen by a BCBA or BCBAD. These individuals have a small caseload of clients for whom they write programs for and oversee their progress. They collaborate with their supervising BCBA or BCBAD to ensure adequate quality of services. Additionally, they are eligible to supervise RBTs. The next level is a board-certified behavior analyst, or a BCBA. This is an individual who has received their master's degree in applied behavior analysis and has gone through all of the required steps to receive certification. This involves several hours of supervised work, passing courses related to providing behavior analytics services, and passing a BCBA exam. Because they go through intensive training, they are able to provide behavior analytics services without supervision from another professional. Instead, they are able to supervise practicing behavior technicians, RBTs, and BCABAs. They also are responsible for overseeing the progress of clients, running assessments, and communicating with insurance companies. The final level of practitioner credentials is a board-certified behavior analyst doctoral, or a BCBAD. This is an individual who has received their doctorate degree in behavior analysis. They hold all of the same responsibilities as a BCBA, but have had more intensive training, often in research-related areas in ABA. As of July 1st, 2019, the number of RBTs is 60,685. As you can see with the trend line, the amount of individuals who receive RBT certification per year is growing rapidly. As applied behavior analysis continues to spread to new populations, such as the geriatric populations, athletes, and so on, there continues to be an increase in jobs open for individuals with this certification. Therefore, becoming certified as a registered behavior technician can set an individual up for a successful and fulfilling career path. An RBT is the individual who is responsible for directly implementing behavior analytics services. As an RBT, you are assigned to work with specific clients on a consistent basis. Your supervisor is responsible for training you on the programs that are to be implemented with your clients. As an RBT, you will be the one who works one-on-one with the individuals who are receiving services. An RBT is not the person responsible for writing or choosing the interventions. They are more hands-on in the process as they are the ones implementing the interventions chosen by their BCBA supervisor. Other responsibilities include implementing interventions accurately. The RBT must make sure that they are implementing interventions as they are written. If they are ever unsure about something, they should clarify what to do with their supervisor immediately. Recording data correctly. As mentioned before, BCBAs tend to oversee the progress of several clients at a time. Because of this, they are unable to be there for every moment of intervention. Due to this, it is very important that the RBT takes data accurately and consistently. Before beginning a new program, the RBT should make sure that they have a good and thorough understanding of what a correct or incorrect response is for their client. Additionally, they should receive training on the data collection method being used to ensure accuracy further. Discussing progress and seeking guidance from their supervisor. As we will discuss later, the RBT must attend required meetings with their supervisor. In these meetings, the RBT should come prepared with questions, concerns, or updates about their current clients. These meetings provide a great opportunity for the RBT to receive assistance, guidance, and clarification on topics that they are unsure about. And following the ethics code in all situations. The ethics code is a list of guidelines and rules that an RBT must follow while providing behavior analytics services. They ensure the safety of the client and the RBT at all times. We will discuss the ethics code in more detail in a further PowerPoint. The RBT must have a supervisor at all times. They cannot practice independently without the supervision of a certified supervisor. RBTs often find supervisors through companies that provide behavior analytics services. Their supervisor will provide them with feedback on performance. This will further their skill set and abilities in providing ABA services. They also will be receiving training on various topics. There are a wide variety of possible behaviors and populations that an RBT may work with. Because of this, the learning opportunities are endless. Through their supervision experience, the RBT can acquire many new skills by working with a variety of clients under the supervision of a BCBA or BCBAD. As for jobs, RBTs can work in centers, schools, homes, and other locations. There are a wide variety of evidence-based treatments that are used in behavior analysis. Some examples include discrete trial training and natural environment teaching. DTT is a structured approach to behavior analysis where the RBT leads learning opportunities and breaks down skills into smaller learning units. NET, on the other hand, is a less structured approach that is often led by the motivation and interests of the client. We will discuss DTT and NET more in detail throughout this course. All interventions will most likely involve both skill acquisition and behavior reduction. Skill acquisition involves the client acquiring new skills and learning. This is when we teach our clients to do different skills and behaviors. For example, teaching a client to imitate or follow directions are both examples of skill acquisition. While behavior reduction is when we reduce inappropriate or harmful behaviors. Some examples include if a client engages in self-injurious behavior or aggresses towards others. These are behaviors that we would want to focus on decreasing as they affect the client's day-to-day life, ability to succeed in school or other environments, and so on. It is especially important to note that there should always be a replacement behavior for a behavior that you are trying to decrease. For example, if a child engages in self-injurious behavior to receive access to attention, we can teach the client to instead request for attention in a more appropriate way, such as vocally demanding for attention, exchanging an icon for attention. We will now go over the steps necessary to become an RBT. The individual's first step is to complete 40 hours of training on the RBT task list. This training must occur in no more than 180 days. This means that from the first day you have documented training to the last day you have documented training must equal no more than 180 days. This ensures that the individual is receiving frequent enough supervision and training to ensure that the information learned is relevant and recent. This 40 hours of training will be provided throughout our course. Secondly, the individual must pass a background check. As mentioned previously, the BACB wants to ensure the safety of our clients. Therefore, a background check is mandatory. The third step is to pass a competency assessment, and the fourth step is to pass the RBT exam. We will discuss each of these steps next. But it should be noted that the competency assessment and RBT exam have to be passed annually to maintain certification. This is done to ensure that the RBT is maintaining their skills and providing adequate ABA services. Here is an example of a tracker that you may use to track your RBT training. As you can see on the left-hand side, the task list item and number is written. On the right-hand side, the date, start time, end time, and number of minutes is written. It is likely that the tracker would have several time slots for each item, as the individual is likely to receive training on each item several times. The RBT task list has 6 sections. The first 2 sections are measurement and assessment. The measurement section involves information related to measuring behavior, such as preparing for data collection, implementing continuous, discontinuous, and permanent product recording, entering data into graphs, and describing behavior in observable and measurable terms. As discussed previously, accurate data is an essential component of being an RBT. Therefore, having training on these items is crucial. The next section is assessment. This section involves conducting and assisting in preference assessments, individualized assessment procedures, and functional assessment procedures. These assessments are used to gain an understanding of your client's preferences, skills, deficits, and problem behaviors. The third section is skill acquisition. This section focuses on a variety of methods one might use to teach a client a new behavior. Some examples include discrete trial teaching, naturalistic teaching, discrimination training, prompting, prompt fading, shaping, and token economies. The next 2 sections are behavior reduction and documentation and reporting. For behavior reduction, the individual is trained on several aspects relating to reducing inappropriate or unwanted behavior in a client. It focuses both on understanding the behavior, such as what is maintaining the behavior, and plans for decreasing the behavior. Some common methods for decreasing behaviors include extinction and differential reinforcement procedures. Documentation and reporting involves how one can document important information and communicate with their supervisor. Communication can be done both in person and over notes. This section focuses on training the RBT to communicate with and seek direction from their supervisor, to generate notes regarding client sessions, and to comply with data collection, storage, transportation, and documentation requirements. The final section is the professional conduct and scope of practice section. This section focuses on teaching the individual to understand their role as an RBT, communicate with the client's family, and so on, and maintain both professional behavior and client dignity. The competency assessment is the third step in becoming an RBT. This step involves the RBT applicant being observed implementing each task list item. The assessment will be conducted by a BCBA, and they will ensure that the RBT is competent in all areas necessary. This assessment involves several methods, including role-playing with the BCBA or other individual. For items that may be hard to test with a client, the BCBA may ask the RBT applicant to act out the scenario and show what they would do if it were a real-life situation. Working with a client. For items that are relevant to the center or environment that the RBT applicant is being assessed in, the BCBA may ask them to show competency by implementing the task list item with an actual client. And finally, the BCBA may assess competency by interviewing the applicant about the topic. This involves asking questions and providing scenarios to the applicant in which they would show their competency by answering accurately and providing rationale. This is a portion of the form provided by the BACB for competency assessments. On the left-hand side, the task list item description is listed. Next to that list is a space for the BCBA's initials, and on the far right-hand side is a checklist of the assessment type used. The assessor will go through each of these items, initial next to it, and check off the assessment method. If the applicant does not perform a task list item adequately, the BCBA will provide them feedback and rationale for why they did not perform it the way they should have. Following some time period, the applicant will be asked to perform the task again, at which, if it is done correctly, the assessor will sign off on that item as well. The RBT exam is the last step to becoming a certified RBT. To take the exam, the applicant must submit an application for a specific date and time that they plan to take the exam. As of 2019, the application itself costs $50, while the exam costs $45, equaling a total of $95 to sign up for and complete the exam. The exam is comprised of 85 multiple choice questions. There are 4 possible answers for each question that the applicant can choose from. Only 75 of these questions are counted in your final score. The questions that are discounted are determined by the BACB. The exam will cover information relevant to the RBT task list. Both the competency assessment and RBT exam show that the applicant has a thorough, conceptual, and applied understanding of the RBT task list. This exam must be completed in 1.5 hours at an approved testing center. Here is the current breakdown that the BACB has provided for what is covered on the exam. It should be noted that this breakdown is subject to change at any time. Therefore, the RBT applicant should ensure they have competency in all task list items and avoid focusing study efforts on specific areas due to this breakdown. We are now going to discuss some common jobs that you may have as an RBT. Home-based services involve the RBT going directly to the client's home and providing services. Because of this, they often have to interact with the client's parents, caregivers, siblings, or other individuals who live in the same home. There are several benefits to in-home services. For starters, the client is learning new skills in an environment where the behaviors will likely take place in the future. This promotes generalization, which refers to when a skill trained in one situation now occurs in another situation without direct training. The second benefit is that the client is in an environment that they are comfortable and familiar with. This makes it so that the client does not have to spend time becoming comfortable in and learning aspects of a new environment, such as at a center. Additionally, they are already familiar with the different areas of their home and may already have access to toys or items that they find reinforcing. The third benefit is that it can allow for more parent and family involvement in services. During in-home services, it is required that the caregiver must be present somewhere in the home at all times. Therefore, this provides opportunities for the RBT to model procedures and protocols for the caregivers. Teaching the parents or other individuals to implement procedures can increase the amount of learning opportunities that the client has in their day-to-day life. This will further increase generalization and possibly lead to quicker skill acquisition. There are also some disadvantages to home-based services. Firstly, it can be hard to contrive situations. In a home setting, you don't always have access to peers that are of the same age or skill level as your client. Even if the client does have siblings, they may be at a different skill level or also have skill deficits that would prevent social programs from being successful. A second disadvantage is that it can be too time demanding for the parents. If the client requires 25 to 40 hours of services per week, it is a lot to ask the parents to arrange their schedules to always have someone present in the home during services. Other service approaches, such as center-based, allow the parents to do other activities during services. The final disadvantage that we will discuss is that the supervisors are not readily available to assist. So if you have any questions or concerns in the middle of a session, you may have to wait until after the session to ask them. Center-based services involve the client coming to the center where the ABA company is located. Some benefits of center-based services include that you have access to supervisors and other RBTs at all times. You're at a center where BCBAs and RBTs are available to help, observe, etc. This allows you to ask questions and gain clarification during sessions rather than waiting until afterwards. Additionally, you have more control over the environment than you would in home-based services. You can set the environment up to promote learning, and you can also limit or increase peer and/or adult interactions better. Another advantage is that there are peers readily available to help interact with. These peers are often individuals who are of similar age and/or skill level. This helps social programs to be run more consistently and accurately. Also, center-based services can help prepare children to become ready for school. The center is like a new environment where you go to learn. BCBAs and behavior analysts can set up the child's daily schedule to reflect what school would look like. This can include scheduled breaks, lunchtime, etc. Some disadvantages include that it can be hard for the child to generalize skills to areas such as home or school. We are training skills in an environment that may not be entirely similar to their home environment. Having differences in environment and stimuli used in training can make it hard for the behavior to generalize. Additionally, it can be hard to schedule parent training as it will be outside of service hours. Parent training is not as accessible during center-based services as they are during in-home services. The parents do not have to stay during sessions, therefore you must schedule training outside of session time. We will now discuss ongoing supervision requirements for RBTs. Once you receive RBT certification, you will need to receive ongoing supervision to practice. This means that you cannot practice as an RBT without a supervisor. You cannot post local advertisements that say you will provide behavior analytics services to individuals. You can only provide these services if you have a supervisor who oversees your work. Supervision will be completed by an authorized RBT supervisor. This includes individuals who are BCBADs, BCBAs, BCABAs, or another professional who is licensed in another behavioral health profession that has applied behavior analysis in its legislative scope of practice, and who is competent in applied behavior analysis. You can find a supervisor through a behavior analytic company or other organization that provides services. It is required that the RBT receive supervision for a minimum of 5% of hours working as an RBT per month. For example, If you work for 40 hours in 1 month, you must have at least 2 of those hours supervised by a qualified supervisor. This rule ensures that the RBT is frequently receiving observations and feedback. This feedback will help the RBT to continuously improve and gain new skills related to providing services. Supervision activities that the RBT may engage in include development of performance expectations. If the RBT and supervisor are in constant contact and discuss current performance, the RBT can gain a better understanding of what is expected of them as they provide services. Observation, behavior skills training, and delivery of performance feedback. Observation allows the BCBA to observe both the client and the RBT. By doing this, they can provide suggestions about how to work with the client and feedback on what the RBT is currently doing. Behavior skills training refers to a method of teaching a skill to another individual. This method involves providing rationale to the individual, modeling the behavior, allowing them to practice the behavior, and then providing feedback as necessary. This is a very common method that supervisors use to teach their technicians how to implement new procedures with clients. The BCBA will provide rationale for the procedure, model the procedure, have the RBT practice the procedure, and then provide feedback and additional role play if necessary. The supervisor will also teach the RBT to engage in technical, professional, and ethical behavior. Professional situations, such as interacting with their clients and/or their families, may vary from situation to situation. Because of this, it is important to have a supervisor accessible who can provide suggestions and feedback to ensure you follow ethical guidelines. Aside from making final decisions regarding situations, the supervisor also wants to build up the RBT's repertoire in dealing with situations that arise while working with different clients. Supervision opportunities also provide opportunities for the supervisor to review any written materials such as data sheets and progress reports with the RBT. This allows them to assess data and progress together, as well as take time to go over how to record data on new data sheets that are being implemented. Similar to the last point, these meetings allow the supervisor and RBT to evaluate the client's progress. They can review data together and discuss any concerns the RBT is having about behaviors that may not be represented in the data. Finally, the RBT and supervisor can discuss ongoing evaluation of the effects of supervision. The RBT should always feel comfortable providing feedback regarding how the supervisor is doing. This can involve the RBT providing information about the quality and clarity of the feedback they're receiving from their supervisor, if they are receiving quality training, or if there are any other concerns they have about their supervision, such as the supervisor's timeliness, supervision techniques, and so on. The RBT must have at least 2 face-to-face contacts per month with their supervisor. At least one of these observations needs to be of the RBT providing services to a client. This can either be in person, which is preferred, or it can also be in the form of video chatting. If the BCBA is traveling or for whatever other reason is unable to attend the session in person, they can observe over a video chatting service. Additionally, at least one contact must be individual, meaning that they are one-on-one between the supervisor and RBT. Finally, the other contact can be in a small group setting. For example, they can be in an interactive meeting that are between multiple RBTs and the supervisor. In these small group meetings, they can discuss a variety of information, such as literature pertaining to behavior analysis. Failure to comply with supervision requirements will result in the individual's RBT certification being terminated. This means that they will no longer be a certified RBT. If this happens, you cannot reapply for 6 months following termination. Even if you do receive certification again, you will be subject to stricter auditing and supervision requirements. This will be determined by the BACB. In the case that you are a certified RBT who currently is not practicing, you do not need monthly supervision. You only need supervision when you are providing behavior analytics services. Therefore, if you are not providing services, you do not need supervision. You can still have your certification without practicing. However, you do need to complete the annual requirements for recertification or you will lose your certification. As a reminder, the annual requirements include passing both the competency assessment and RBT exam. There are several ethical considerations regarding who can and cannot supervise you. For example, you cannot be supervised by someone you have a relationship with. For example, your RBT supervisor cannot be a family member, friend of the family, or other individual in which you hold a relationship with. Additionally, you cannot be supervised by someone who you employ. For example, if you or your family start a company, you cannot ask one of your employees to supervise you as you provide services. And the final ethical concern that we will discuss is that you cannot be supervised by someone who you are superior to. For example, if you work at the same company but hold a higher position than the individual, you cannot ask them to be your supervisor. If you are at the head of a company, working as a speech therapist, for example, you cannot ask someone who has a lower position than you to supervise you after you get your RBT certification. All of the previous situations are multiple relationships, which makes them unethical. These multiple relationships can cloud your or your supervisor's judgments and can also lead to more unethical behavior. Having a multiple relationship can lead one of the individuals to use their relationship to get the other individual to allow them to do things that they should not be allowed to do. Therefore, it is best to avoid multiple relationships as much as possible. The following is a question that you should record in your homework packet. What percentage of hours must be supervised per month? A. 10%. B. 5%. C. 15%. Or D. 2%. I'll give you guys a moment to review these answers and determine which one you think is correct. The correct answer is B. 5%. As an RBT, you must have at least 5% of your monthly hours supervised by a qualified supervisor. Auditing is when the BACB requires you to turn in documents proving your training, passive assessment, ongoing supervision, etc. This is why keeping documentation of your training and passing of exams and assessments is crucial. The BACB can audit the RBT, RBT applicant, RBT supervisor, or RBT requirements coordinator at any time. This means that they can request documentation of training at any time during the application process or even after the RBT has become certified. This is done to ensure everyone is following BACB guidelines and receiving appropriate supervision. It also can ensure that quality training is being done by showing that the client completed training and passed assessments for every task list item. The RBT applicant is responsible for maintaining the following documents: the 40-hour training certificate, the documentation showing passing of the RBT competency assessment, documentation that supervision was conducted in accordance with the RBT supervision requirements, and documentation of annual renewal with signed attestation by RBT of supervision. The BACB provides this example of how to track your supervision requirements per month. On the left-hand side, in the section that is circled, the RBT lists the date that supervision occurred. This helps them keep track of what days supervision occurred throughout the month. Additionally, you would record information about the duration of training. Duration of meeting information is important because it will allow you to calculate what percentage of hours per month were supervised. The mode of meeting is also recorded as it is important to ensure you are meeting the minimum amount of in-person, face-to-face contacts. You are required to have at least 2 face-to-face supervision meetings or observations per month. This section allows you to keep track of how many you have had throughout the month. This section focuses on if the meeting was individual or group focused. As a reminder, you are required to have at least 1 individual supervision meeting per month. This section focuses on whether the RBT was observed while working with the client or while not working with the client. Again, you are required to be observed with the client at least once per month. The section that is currently circled shows a summary of the hours for that given month. It is a breakdown of how many hours you conducted applied behavior analysis per month, how many hours were supervised, and what percentage of your work was supervised. It basically summarizes whether or not you followed BACB guidelines that month. The RBT supervisor must maintain documentation including original documentation of ongoing supervision, which includes dates of meetings, documentation of supervision contacts, and documentation of percentage of hours supervised. They also must have paperwork indicating a background check was conducted with the RBT. The background check must follow BACB requirements. The requirements include that the background check was conducted in line with the requirements for home health aides, child care professionals, and/or teachers in the community where services are provided. Other requirements include that it was done in 180 days of submitting the application, and the background check company name was documented. The following is another question that you should write down in your homework packet. The 40 hours of training you receive must cover at least 75% of the RBT task list items. A, true, or B, false. I'll give you guys a moment to review these answers and determine which one you think is correct. The correct answer is B, false. The training you receive must cover all task list items. You must also show competency in all task list items. All of the items that are listed are relevant to being an RBT, so it is very important that you receive training and are competent in all areas of the task list. As a summary, you must complete 40 hours of training over the RBT task list and pass a competency assessment and exam annually. After receiving certification, you must seek out an RBT supervisor. While doing so, make sure to avoid multiple relationships. This can be done by choosing a supervisor in which you only have a professional relationship with. Finally, you must keep records of supervision contacts with the RBT supervisor, passing of RBT exams and competency assessments, and documents filled out by the supervisor showing completion of RBT-related activities. And so on.